Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now today's first story comes from Scribbly Dibbly from the Relationships subreddit, and it says, my best friend, 25 female, has been ignoring me for a year and now wants me, 25 female, to give her fiance a job. Ooh, cheeky bloody so-and-so. I met my best friend Sarah on our first day of college, and we lived together for the following 3 years. After college, I moved to LA to work in film, and she moved home with her parents to save up for grad school. I haven't seen her in person since graduation, but for the first year after college, we texted every day, spoke on the phone often, and Skyped almost weekly. This continued until she randomly cut off contact with me out of the blue. I eventually got so worried about her that I called her mum, who awkwardly apologized and told me that Sarah's been spending time with her new boyfriend. After 4 months of not hearing a word from her, she finally texted briefly to tell me about Joe. From the little she's told me and what I've gathered from his Facebook, Joe is an abrasive, homophobic misogynist. Sarah is very forward-thinking but has a history of picking disrespectful boyfriends. The latest one seems to be sticking. I saw on Facebook a few weeks ago that they're engaged. Obviously, I was really hurt that I had to find out through social media, but it gets worse. I've been fortunate career-wise, and a few months ago I got hired to write a big-budget movie for a major studio. An interview I did got shared by one of our mutual friends, which I assume is how Sarah saw it. Yesterday, I got a message from her asking if I could get Joe a job. Apparently, he wants to be a TV writer. Nowhere in her message did she congratulate me or ask how I'm doing. Obviously, I have no intention of trying to get Joe a job, but I can't help it. I really want my friend back. When she's not in a relationship, Sarah is the greatest, most supportive friend ever. It's like she transforms into somebody I don't know as soon as she gets a boyfriend. Is there any hope for our friendship? Or is it time to say goodbye for good? Absolutely not. It's a bit bloody cheeky coming up to you after ignoring you for a year and then just coming in with, can you basically give my fiance a job? Especially when you know none of his details at all, what he's good at or anything. And I think the reality of this is the friend that you miss doesn't exist when she seems to get in relationships. And whenever we read these stories now, when someone says, they're the best person ever, the most supportive person ever, I always wonder if they really look back and dig into that relationship, will it be the same? And as for getting your friend back in the end, will you actually get her back if you was to give him a job? 100% I'm not saying you should do that, but I don't think you would in the end anyway. And I think sometimes growing up, as we've seen in these stories, is accepting that sometimes people weren't who you thought they were, or they've moved in a different direction, and this might be one of those times. But there was also a very small part of me that was thinking along the lines of when OP was explaining this guy, is she being isolated here? Not saying that she is, but it certainly popped into my head. Blaggle says, what's so great about someone who ignores you for a year? I don't know if I'd want to save a sinking ship like that. Think about where your life will be when you finish writing your big budget film. All the people and connections you will make. New friends on the horizon if you ask me. OP says, thanks, that helps. I think you're right and it's time to move forward. Another commenter says, is it possible that the disrespectful boyfriend she chooses are also controlling and attempting to cut her off from her friends? Or does she just vanish every time she has a boyfriend regardless of what kind of guy he is? In the first case, there's hope for your friendship if she can get away from him, and likely some therapy to help her recover from the damage those kinds of relationships can cause. In the second, there really isn't. OP replies saying, I can't even tell you how much this comment resonates. For whatever reason, she naturally gravitates towards men who are super controlling. Always has. She told me that's her greatest fear is dying alone. I think that informs all of her relationships in a really negative way. Most source replies saying, so you realize you were just a surrogate for her boyfriend until she found another. She's not homosexual, so she can't be as close with you as with a man. But as soon as a man comes along, she doesn't need you anymore. You are just the person keeping her from dying alone until a more compatible option comes along. OP replied saying, wow, that's depressingly accurate. She even joked about how she wishes I was a man or that we were gay so she wouldn't have to bother finding a boyfriend. I never thought about it like that, and now I feel used. Commenter says, what the hell? Even if you had reason to believe that this guy's a decent person, you know absolutely nothing about his talent or work ethic. It's beyond inappropriate and rude besides to just stick a hand out expecting you to drop a job in it for fiancé. That is not how you network. I have a feeling it was Joe's idea to ask you. It's not up to me to tell you whether or not to attempt to mend the bridge she's burning. You can make a case either way. But if you respond at all, don't mention the request. Ask her how she's doing and let her know you've been thinking of her. Tell her you were worried when she disappeared and you hope she's doing okay and is happy. Let her respond to that how she will. If she ignores it or just repeats the request, I think you can safely say she's not interested in being your friend. The suspicious side of me also says that he may be watching her correspondence and she doesn't feel free to open up to you. But take that with a grain of salt. I'm sorry, OP. It's hard watching friends make terrible romantic choices. More so when they cut you out while doing it. And OP responded to that saying, I'm absolutely convinced it was Joe's idea to ask. Honestly, this might sound paranoid, but I almost felt like he had logged onto her account and sent it himself based on the way it was written. I think this might be the approach I take. Torn between your suggestion and just ignoring it, and I can't decide which one is making me sadder. Thanks for your input. It's really helpful. So it was 5 days after this that OP did come back in with the update and said, I called Sarah's home phone the morning after I got her message. Her mum answered and told me she was out with Joe. We chatted for a few minutes and then she suddenly started crying. She told me she feels like she's lost her daughter. She said she would ask Sarah to call me. I didn't get a call back. The next day I got a surprise visit from Lily, who Sarah and I were really good friends with in college. Lily and I had fallen out of touch and I was really excited to see her again. That night I took her to a party. An actor that Sarah always liked was there and Lily ended up hitting it off with him and posting a picture of the three of us doing shots on Facebook. That night I got a text from Sarah saying, "Since when do you hang out with actor?" I was extremely annoyed and didn't respond. An hour later she texted, "I guess you're too much of a celebrity to respond." I spent about an hour ranting to poor Lily and then composed an email to Sarah. I think I kept it pretty unemotional. Basically I told her she had really hurt me by cutting me out of her life. And I didn't think it was fair for her to suddenly reappear with no explanation or apology. I also said I think her relationship with Joe is toxic and that I hope she overcomes her fear of being alone so she can stop jumping into unhealthy relationships. Finally, I told her that both her mother and I are worried about her, but I don't have the time or emotional energy to keep trying anymore. If she wants to get in touch when she's fixed her personal issues, I'll be open to listening. Until then, we're not friends anymore. I'm upset, I'm tired, but I'm mostly done. I hope I made the right decision. So a commenter says to OP on the back of this, quoting, "I guess you're too much of a celebrity to respond," saying, "Wow, boy was I wrong about her. If this is how she tries to get back into your life, and no, I don't think we can chalk this one up to Joe, she's truly no longer your friend. Unbelievably rude. I'm deeply sorry for her mother. It must be extremely painful to see your daughter lose herself so thoroughly, but I think you're justified in being done. That is about as disappointing as an update as I could have imagined. I'm sorry, OP." OP replied to another commenter, accusing her of throwing her under the bus and says, "I didn't throw her under the bus in any way. In my conversation with Sarah's mother, she explicitly asked me to tell Sarah that she, Mum, is/worried and upset. Sarah never called me, so telling her in my email was the best I could do. I definitely do not accept the accusation that I've burned all of Sarah's emotional lifelines. Sarah's doing all of that on her own." OP replies to another commenter saying, "Yeah, this is true. I'm not great at keeping in touch with people when we're no longer geographically close. I'm working on this. What was frustrating about the falling out with Sarah was that I felt I really had made an effort to stay connected, even though we weren't living near each other." Alark says, "It sounds like Lily also found out that you were working in Hollywood and conveniently just showed up." OP says, "I see where you're coming from, but Lily is a registered nurse and loves her job. She was in LA for something work-related and doesn't have any interest in the film industry. She never asked me for any favors either." One more commenter says, "Sounds like you did the reasonable thing. I'm sure she won't respond or reach out until she breaks up with her boyfriend, if she ever does. She doesn't sound like a pleasant person though. In that last message, she was baiting you just to get a response. Nice people don't do that. And some people were saying that Joe was still behind this, manipulating in the background. Other people saying that Sarah was just an awful person. But what is your take on this matter? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's move on to another story. Now our next story, it comes from Gauntlet Throwaway that says, me 21 female with my new boyfriend 24 male. His friends 20s male tested me and I passed. Is this as weird as I think it is? My relationships need some outside perspective here on a small but weird problem. I've been dating this guy Sam for about 3 months now. Just recently made it official and I met his friends on Thursday. Sam's awesome and his friends seem awesome too. Or so I thought. We were all hanging out playing games, watching Netflix etc. on Thursday after having come back from the local bar. It was a good time and we were all having fun. Then Sam left the room and his friends almost immediately started talking shit about him. They were all ragging on his appearance, calling him a loser etc. And it made me very uncomfortable. They tried to get me to join in and I kept brushing them off. They persisted, so I finally told them to knock it off and informed them that I'd be telling Sam all of this. They got quiet and then Sam came back and they tried to go back to just hanging out. I was so pissed off that I said I was going to bed and went to Sam's room. Sam came in about half hour later and asked me if everything was okay. I told him that his friends were talking shit about him and it pissed me off. I said that I know I had no right to tell him who to be friends with, but I think he should ditch them. And then he did something that totally threw me off. He grinned. I asked him what he was smiling about, and that's when he told me the following. Apparently they do this with every girl Sam meets to test her and see if she'll talk shit about him behind his back. If she does, he dumps her. If not, hooray. Sam's in on it and says it's pretty harmless. He says I'm the first girl to have told him about what's happened, which means I'm the best? I am inclined to agree that it's harmless, but I find it weird. Am I right in thinking that this is strange? Is this something normal? Do all guys do this? Just need some perspective. Thanks. And look, this isn't a harmless test. It's manipulative behavior. And the fact that he's clearly got a pattern of setting up these traps for people instead of just dating people honestly says it all really, doesn't it? The other girls seem to have failed this so-called test. I mean, that would be enough for me in itself, but it also begs the question, what other tests would there be in the future? If he's willing to do this, is he willing to do anything else to test you in the future? But in this one, you're the one who acted with honesty and you was loyal, where he's the one who's acted with deception in this situation. The girl says your boyfriend still has a lot of growing up to do. This is high school level stuff. You need to decide if you want to date a child or do you want to move on and find a real man. Commenter says, well, you may have passed his test, but he sure as shit failed yours. Why would you want to be with someone who's going to set you up like that? Roaming Amber says, wow, you may have passed, but Sam and his friends failed miserably. Setting people up in uncomfortable and made up positions is not only mean and childish, but is also unrealistic and pointless. You don't lie to people to gain the truth. Your mileage may vary, but I'll be moving on from people who feel the need to manipulate me and put me through stress for their own benefit and amusement. So it was the next day after this post that OP came in with an update and said, hello again, and wow, my post blew up yesterday. Thanks everyone for the advice. Sorry I didn't respond to anyone. I posted it while on my break at work, so I had no time to do so. I thoroughly appreciate all of you taking time to comment. You're all radiant unicorn moonbeams and you're awesome. Everyone pretty much unanimously said A, Sam is a dick, and B, dump the dick. This confirmed my suspicions, but I figured I'd talk to Sam about it anyway, just to give him the benefit of the doubt because I'm nice like that. Well, long story short, A, Sam really and truly is a dick, and B, the dick has been dumped. The conversation lasted all of 5 minutes before he started getting defensive. The climax was him calling me a bitch for not being grateful that I'd passed this stupid test. At that point I just said, yeah, it's over. I may have passed your test, but you failed mine. Thanks, another user, for that line. And I walked away. He tried to blow up my phone, but I nipped that in the bud by blocking him. So yeah, thanks everybody for helping me dodge a massive bullet bill-sized bullet. Much appreciated. You all are a bunch of beautiful sunlit diamonds. Loving the bullet bill reference as well. And absolutely, good on OP for getting out of that situation, nipping it in the bud early. But what do you guys make of this one? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from the relationship advice subreddit. It does contain mentions of chronic illness and self-harm within the story, so if you do want to skip it, please feel free to do so. It'll likely be the last story of this video, but it's from a throwaway account that says, my brother is living with me in secret and my mum thinks I'm cheating on my husband. About 2 weeks ago, my female 25 sister-in-law, female 32, dropped a bombshell on my brother, male 29, that the youngest, 5 female, might not be his child because she'd been sleeping with her ex-boyfriend around the time they got pregnant. He showed up on my doorstep and asked if he could stay with me while he figured this stuff out. I of course said yes and made up the guest room for him. My brother asked if I could keep his situation private while he figures out his next moves, and especially not tell our parents. My mum has an incredibly close relationship with my sister-in-law, and with how she treated her older sister who divorced her husband after he cheated on her, she doesn't view cheating as something worth divorcing over. Basically, the other day, my mum and I were on FaceTime and I was showing her how my quarantine garden was coming along. My back was facing the house, and during the call, she briefly saw my brother pass by a window without his shirt on. She ended up cutting the call short and left me confused until she called back last night and lectured me on how I was betraying my husband and that marriage is a promise for a lifetime. She said she understood I was lonely, but this was not the way to handle things. My husband has been in Canada. We live in the States since April with his father, who is in kidney failure and struggling with other illnesses, and is looking like he won't make it past Christmas at this point. He's aware of the situation and aware of not telling my parents anything. I couldn't explain to my mum and tried playing it off that she was just seeing things, but she didn't buy it. I told my brother what happened and he's frustrated about it. He asked for a few more days to get his head straight and then he will talk to our parents about it, but knowing him, those few days could turn into weeks. I don't want to spill to my parents, but this situation is incredibly uncomfortable. What do I do? Edit, I'm currently at work, but I'm thankful for all the replies and reading through all of them. Edit 2, just want to clarify that I already replied to one commenter, but my husband is aware of what my mum thinks is going on and why my brother is staying with me. Edit 3, I really am thankful for everyone who's commented. When I get home from work tonight, I'll be looking into getting mental and legal help for my brother. Also, for those asking why I didn't just say it was him visiting, I will be honest, I'm panicked. I was nervous if I mentioned him to our mother. She'd call his home and talk to sister-in-law and find out everything. Considering how much my mum loves my sister-in-law, she'd take her side and try to intervene and guilt my brother into going back to her. I could have been much smarter in that moment. Commenter says to OP, if your mum doesn't think cheating is something to divorce over, let her think what she wants. You told her you're not having an affair. What she chooses to think is up to her. Let your brother have his space. The truth will all come out when he's ready and you can all laugh about it. OP says, I don't think there will be any laughing if it comes down to divorce for my brother. When my mum's sister got divorced, she was very supportive and a shoulder to cry on. But when she filed for divorce, my mum pretty much disowned her for years and their relationship still hasn't recovered. Basically, divorce is the worst of the worst for my mum over anything else, which is why this is so touchy. But I do agree with giving him time. I can deal with being uncomfortable for a bit. Thank you for your reply. Commenter says your mum is unreasonable. She cannot have it both ways. Sounds like it's a good time to set appropriate boundaries. Please give your brother that extra time. His world has shattered. That's more important than your judgmental mother. Opie says yeah. That's just the surface of it with my mum, unfortunately. I'll be giving him the time he needs because I know he'd do the same for me if I was in his position. Commenter says, just keep it going for a bit. Your bro needs your help and support right now. He just found out not only was he cheated on, but his child might not be his. That sucks. Opie says it has been really hard seeing him like this. The only thing getting him out of the guest room is his job. Commenter says, as long as your husband knows what's going on, I don't think this is a big problem. It will eventually get sorted when your brother makes a decision to deal with this, and then you can explain the situation to her. Is your brother waiting for a paternity test results? Opie says, my husband is aware. I called him and told him what happened after my mother accused me. My brother has been too depressed to do a paternity test yet, but I'm encouraging him to have one done. But I think he's scared of the results. He doesn't want to lose his daughter. Commenter says, I'm sorry your brother is going through something that is so heartbreaking and life-changing. You said his youngest. I'm assuming they have more than one child. Do you think he should have all DNA tested? How long has she been cheating, and is she still having her ex as an affair partner? Has he been taking any steps to speak with anybody? You, your husband, a friend, his wife, a therapist? It is a lot to take in and absorb. He needs to get it out of his head and use his words. The betrayal of her cheating is hard to accept, then the question of his daughter. His name would be on the birth certificate. He will not lose his daughter unless his wife goes to court and amends it. Hugs to you both. Opie says, I haven't even thought about that as a possibility. His oldest is 9. From what I know, she told him she was seeing her ex for 3 months when she got pregnant with my niece, but who knows if that's the whole truth. Him and his wife are having very limited contact. He calls at night to talk to the kids and sort of ignores anything she says and hangs up quickly when the kids are done. I have a friend who is a psychiatrist and will be reaching out to her for a recommendation of someone he can speak to. So far it's only been me, and he's telling me more as he processes it. Thank you for this though. When I get home from work, I'll be researching for a lawyer to contact on Monday. I don't think he will do it himself anytime soon. And one more commenter who says, Mum can believe that it is wrong to cheat, but that cheating is not worth leaving the marriage over. A lot of people believe this after going through being cheated on or having close family members go through these types of life experiences. This is a common belief for older people, and probably most Catholics, because there was a real stigma surrounding divorce. Also in the past, it was more common for women to be stay-at-home mothers. It'd be very hard to leave that life, put your kids in daycare and go get a low-wage job. So rather than deal with the hardship and social alienation of divorce, people just work through their issues. I don't think that it reflects poorly on Opie's mum. She is just a product of her times. That's possibly Opie's mum's life experience and very likely the world she grew up in. Opie says this, my mother is very religious, Mormon, and her parents divorced when she was young and had to live between 2 states. I don't think she ever forgave them for that. So it was around 2 weeks later that Opie came in with an update and said, so it's been about 2 weeks since I posted and a lot has happened since then. I guess to start off, about 2 days after I made the post, the cat was out of the bag about my brother and his wife. My mum did end up calling over to my brother's house and spoke with his wife. I think about something Christmas related, and she ended up breaking down in tears and telling our mum everything. Long story short, our mum is relieved I'm not cheating on my husband and was upset that we felt we couldn't trust her to side with my brother before decisions were made. We had a big talk as a family and understood why she felt the way she did towards divorce, and she even admitted she regrets how she acted when her own sister was getting divorced. She felt like her sister was ruining her child's life like her parents did to them by having them live half lives in different states. Overall, we grew closer as a family after that. On to other things. We got a lawyer through one of our lawyer's cousins who had a colleague that specializes in family law and divorces. He also got a paternity test, and thankfully it came back that his daughter is in fact his. Had to do a bit of tough love to get this rolling. However, his wife isn't doing well. After the paternity test came back, she thought they could work it out, but when he told her no, she ended up trying to hurt herself. I won't go into too much detail, but she's no longer in their shared home and is instead living with her parents while my brother moved back with the kids. I think he's happier now that he has the kids around him again. Currently looking into getting therapy for the children as they were present when their mother tried to hurt herself. And my brother will be starting therapy after the new year. I'm optimistic it will be okay. My husband is still in Canada with his family. His father is still doing bad, but he at least gets to have one last Christmas with him before he passes. I think that's all we could ask for. I'm grateful to anyone that commented and messaged me with advice, and my brother appreciates it as well. I'm looking forward to having Christmas dinner with my mum, my brother, niece and nephew. With all the hell that's been this year, it'd be nice to have this one moment. But now, I'm going to turn this one straight to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so, so much. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.